Taurus. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for April of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julie Mikas in San Francisco.
Well, Taurus, if Taurus is your sun sign, then your birthday is coming up fast. You're already in your yearly mop-up period as the month begins, and your birthday is likely to happen, at the end of this month or the beginning of next month. And the mop-up is a time during the 30 days before your birthday when the biggest changes happen because the old year's themes are going out, the new year's themes are coming in, and it can be a really confusing time. So a solar return reading is absolutely the way to get a jump on your new year that's, the most powerful. You can find a link for that in the YouTube description below. Well, I'm going to start with I'm going to talk about the moons at the beginning of this video. And I want to begin with a moon that happened at the end of March, which we didn't report in last month's horoscope. And that is the new moon in Aries, which for you happens in the 12th house. And this moon we called Honest Words, Clear Intentions. And you can find out more about it in our March news playlist, actually. But suffice it to say that this is a moon that features a very powerful bent towards honesty, directness, and clarity. And new moons are times of new beginnings, times of planting seeds. Now, this moon falls in a house of the hidden, one of the water houses in your chart, which is the 12th house, and it is a house of the unconscious. So this is really a moon in which to look at yourself and your unconscious and the unconscious of the people and the social systems around you, like the social system of your home, the social system of your friend group, and look at what is going on there that people aren't talking about, and maybe actually pointing to it. And be gentle, but be direct, and wonderful things could result, although they might be a bit explosive at first. It's all in how you put it. Okay, the next moon that I want to tell you about happens about 2 weeks later. And that is on the 16th. This is the full moon in Libra, and you can see it right here. Sun in the end of your 12th house, moon in Libra in your 6th house, which does suggest that you're likely to feel this one in your workplace. The moon in Libra is very diplomatic, and especially because it's got a lovely trine to Juno and Saturn, you're probably going to be experiencing and contributing to a socially well-regulated environment at work. So if there are any arguments or clashes that you've been trying to work out, this moon could be a time when those things pop up really hard and bring up a lot of emotion, but can also find a peaceful resolution. Find out more about that moon in our April 2022 news playlist on our YouTube channel. That's the full moon in Libra. Now, the next moon, and I have to tell you about 3 moons today. The next one, or the final one, is the new moon in Taurus, which is also, let's see, it's on April 30th, right here. This is a new moon in Taurus, which is also an eclipse because it conjuncts the North Node. This one we're calling Change Through Peaceful Stubbornness because of the way that it connects with innovative Uranus and harmoniously connects with forward-pushing Mars. So Mars brings in a note of assertion. Taurus is generally very peaceful and will resist in a stubborn way, but isn't likely to aggress. Uranus likes to bring change. So all of these themes show up in your first house. So this eclipse could be a time when in your behavior, you are, your shadow is showing. And so you do want to watch your behavior, but also take this as an opportunity to make a really powerful change in your behavior. So find out more about this moon, which again, we're calling Change Through Peaceful Stubbornness. and you'll find it in the April news playlist. So the last thing I want to tell you about before I turn it over to Julia is that Ceres, which is your ruling planet, a ruler of Taurus, is in Gemini and has been for a couple of months and will be until next month. And so I'm not going to say more about it now, but if you want to know what Ceres means in your second house, you should check our February horoscope for you, Taurus, because that's where I talked all about that. And believe me, it has a lot to do with money and things you really like. So you should check it out. Hey, Julia, what's the news of Mercury, Venus, and Mars for the Tauruses of the world?
Oh my God, Jamie, so much. Hey there, Taurus. So I'll start with Mercury because Mercury is all over the place this month. It is moving really, really fast now. So it's kind of like the opposite of a Mercury retrograde now. So it crosses 3 houses. It starts the month in your 12th house, but it's just in there for a few days. And we really covered what that was like in our last month's video. So check that out to learn a little more about it. But what's really important is that on April 2nd, we're having Greater Epiphany Day. And that means that Mercury is exactly conjoined the sun. And this marks the end of a whole Mercury cycle. Mercury, it goes direct, it goes retrograde, and it conjoins the sun in a sort of bookend between cycles. So we're ending a cycle, we're beginning a new cycle. Mercury's moving very fast right now. And this special Epiphany Day of the exact conjunction is happening in your 12th house on April 2nd. So Epiphany days can be a time of sort of clarity and aha moments. And the 12th house is a very ethereal place. It represents isolation. It represents spirituality. It represents also, it also represents self-undoing as well as charity work. So you could be making some really interesting connections, maybe like, oh, have I been, sabotaging myself this way? Or, is this a spiritual path I want to pursue? You could be making some connections in 12th house matters. Now, on April 10th, Mercury enters your first house, and it's going to be there for the bulk of the month. So I want to spend a moment or two on that. The first house is the house of self, and Mercury represents your intelligence as well as your ability to communicate. So after April 10th, between April 10th and 29th, while it's in your first, this is a wonderful transit for being able to articulate yourself really well, because it's kind of like you're embodying and able to sort of project your Mercury a lot better, which is your intelligence, which is your words and language. So it's a really great transit if you want to make a good intellectual first impression on somebody, like impress somebody with your mind, or if you're doing any type of public speaking, or let's say a job interview or a school report. It's a very good time for that. Then by April 29th, Mercury is going to move into your second house of money, and that transit's really going to take place a lot more next month. So stay tuned to hear about what that's going to feel like. Now we're going to talk about Venus, which is the planet of art, beauty, and relationships. And pretty early on in the month, I mean, she starts in your 10th house of career. Then by the 5th, she's in your 11th house and stays there for the most of the month. So 11th house is really highlighted for you. And that's the house of your friends, any groups you're a part of, clubs, societies, unions, teams, all of that kind of stuff. It's also the house of your long-term goals. So the dreams that take some time to realize, like starting a website, opening a business, writing a book, buying a home, those kind of long-term dreams are all 5th house. Now, having Venus in this house is just a lovely time socially. Especially because, Mercury is going to be coming into that first house too. That could also be quite social, a bit more of a social month for you, Taurus. And Venus means that you could be getting along really well with your friends. She can also add a little bit of luck to your long-term goals, maybe helping you define them or maybe move a few baby steps towards them. Now, I'll also talk a little bit about Mars too, because Mars will be coming into the 11th as well. But for the first 14 days of the month, Mars, the planet of action and drive, starts in your 10th house. So that's the house of career and authority figures. And Mars is a little bit conflict prone. So having Mars in the 10th So for the first 14 days of the month, this could be a time of maybe running into flare-ups with authority figures, or even some frustrations at work too, because the 10th house represents career. But it is a good time to be very driven at work and get a lot of work done. Now, after April 14th, Mars will be joining Venus in your 11th house. And again, Mars is that very driven planet, and the 11th house can represent friends, networks, etc. So Mars in the 11th can sometimes bring a little bit more competition, sometimes a little bit more not seeing eye to eye with friends. But a really good use of this transit, because the 11th house is the house of groups, is to try to get out that energy through some group effort. Maybe you and your friends can get together, or you and any type of group you're a part of, like let's say you go to conventions, or let's say you're on a sports team. This could be actually a great transit for being on a sports team with Mars there. It's good to get the energy out that way so it doesn't back up and lead to conflict.
And since we're talking about social life, I am going to bring the conversation to Juno. Juno starts the month in Aquarius, which I talked about in the February horoscope. So you should probably check that out, like what it has meant to have Juno in your 10th house. But it's moving into Pisces this month, later this month. And it's going to be in Pisces for quite a few months to come, because Juno will be going retrograde here. So Juno is the social maven. She's the matriarch. She weaves the fabric of society together. She's about forming warm connections between yourself and other people, and helping other people to form warm connections amongst each other as well. So finding her entering into your 11th house is great. And I do want to say that over the course of the next few months, as Juno slows down, turns retrograde, backs up for a time, then turns direct and moves forward, during her sojourn in your 11th house, there are going to be a lot of like social changes that happen. There's going to be a lot of reevaluation of your friendships and your social connections and whether they work for you. And also how your social life and your friendship groups might impact your marriage, and contextualize it or not contextualize it. Do you and your partner have different friends? Can you get your friends together? Can you share a social group? And how does that impact your marriage if you can't? So just know that over the next couple of months, there will be a lot of stuff coming up around that. Okay, then I want to talk to you about the seasonal change. The sun, of course, starts this month in the sign of Aries, which I talked about last month, and then it moves into Taurus right here on April 20th. The sun is, it's the life force energy in the chart as it is in our solar system. Wherever the sun goes, you want to shine the light of your high quality attention so that things can grow and expand there. When the sun comes into the first house, it's almost another way of saying that it's time to bring the focus to you and that it's birthday time. Even if Taurus is your rising and not your sun sign, while the sun is passing along through Taurus, it's almost like honorary birthday time. So this is your time to shine. This is your time to be noticed. This is your time to be a centralizing force for energies and for attention. This is your time to perform yourself into the world. And so putting some high quality attention on yourself and receiving high quality attention from others is a great way to grow and expand while the sun is passing through Taurus. The last thing that I want to tell you about is that on April 29th, Pluto is turning retrograde. Pluto transits are all about transformation and metamorphosis. And wherever Pluto is, you can expect to be going through a death and rebirth experience. And if Pluto is transiting something specific in your chart, like a planet, or if it's maybe conjuncting your midheaven, if it's, transiting your rising or whatever, then then you can expect to feel that very personally, that transformation and metamorphosis, very keenly, in fact. When Pluto goes retrograde, you're likely to feel it. And so that's happening around the 29th. And if that does, if you do feel that, then just know that you'll be going through a deepening of your metamorphic death and rebirth process over the course of the next several months. You can find a link in the YouTube description below about Pluto transits and how to handle them. I think that's all that we have for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. You can find your horoscopes on our website, pandoraastrology.com, along with links for classes, links for readings, and tons of free articles. And you can also find us on YouTube as well. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.